Hola.
Hola.
How you doing? Hey, it is Jason and Lisa. And
J&L Cafe.
welcome to J&L Cafe. Also, welcome to the new year, which is
2023.
Feliz Año Nueve.
Yep.
And we're very excited about that. So we are here in Cancun, and we're off the water, and we're broadcasting tonight about our 7 tips for an incredibly successful, beautiful, wonderful, and happy 2023. So let's talk a little bit about that and kind of get to know things about that. Like, there's a whole bunch of questions that people ask us all the time.
A lot of questions.
What's one of the questions?
Did you win the lotto? Are you just wealthy? Did you sell everything so that you can travel the way that you do? Because most of you know we are in Cancun for Christmas and New Year's.
And that's a great question. People think that we're like super rich. We're not. By all means, we are definitely not. We just make different choices. And when I say different choices, I'm not going to sit here and tell you don't go to Starbucks, because we literally have gone to Starbucks probably 5 out of 7 days here.
We went today, by the way.
So it's not about starving yourself. It's not about neglecting yourself or anything like that. It's just about the choices you make. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. And we're going to kind of go over the tips. The last 7 days we've been posting a tip a day, just the tip.
Just the tip.
And we're going to kind of go over those tips today. So on the very first day we posted, just the tip was make every day an adventure.
Had some questions about that, actually.
Yeah. And
what's considered an adventure?
What we mean by an adventure is every single day can be an adventure. It doesn't have to be an international trip. It doesn't have to be going on vacation for 2 weeks or anything like that. Literally every day.
You gotta plan it. You don't have to plan it.
We go to Sonic when we're back in the States. We go to Sonic all the time. And when we go to Sonic, we always make it an adventure. We turn the wrong direction. We go a new way. And we live in a very small town in Tennessee, so there's not a lot of new ways to go.
We have a town square, though.
But we found that just by going a different way or circling the town square, we see new things, we meet new people, and we're just always on that little adventure ride to see something we can point out new. Especially during the holidays.
Oh my gosh.
It's a great time to make a wrong turn.
It's a great time to make the wrong turn.
And you'll see, lights and houses and
as I mentioned to Jay, people that put up their Christmas tree way too early, now we'll have them
you'll see them on the street
corner for
early,
their trash. It's
and
the greatest.
And some people leave their Christmas tree up through February, which we love that as well. So,
and it gives you something to laugh about when you drive by.
So you have a good time and just make the day an adventure. If you go to work and maybe your spouse goes to work and you're working all day, you're like, how do I make that an adventure? Here, tip: go on the way home. Stop at a Circle K, a 7-Eleven, or whatever. Buy the rose, right? $2.99. Do that one time.
This beautiful man will actually go out of his way to grab me a Dr. Pepper. But you have no idea how incredibly important that is, because that is a staple to me. And it's hard to find here. And he goes out of his way because he knows it's something that I love. And it's just a treat. And
that's it. It's just the little things. And maybe that's what it is. Maybe getting a Dr. Pepper. Maybe getting a soda. Getting French fries. Not be elaborate. It's just something special and different. Just make it fun.
Make it an adventure. And something that you guys talk about after and laugh about.
Yeah,
we laugh more about the dumb things we have done, the different routes we have taken. They happen to have a Veterans Day memorial service going on. We jump in on it. If it's raining outside, which it has been at home, go out and dance in it.
Or
enjoy it.
Midnight moon watching.
Midnight moon.
Looking at the stars, trying to figure out where the different constellations are. Just having good times like that. So.
Yeah. Is it waxing? Is it waning? It's a question we still have. If you have the answer, let us know. But that's our adventure. Which
kind of leads us to tip number 2, which is give memories, not trinkets. Yeah. Now, this is a big one for us because we're on a month-long journey here in Cancun, and we decided by communication a long time ago that we wanted to not be in below sub-freezing temperatures. So we left Tennessee and came to Cancun for the entire month. So we left middle of December, and we're not going back till the middle of January. And we thought, well, in order to do that, we're not going to buy Christmas presents for each other.
That was a hard decision as well.
It's hard to not buy a gift for the person you love, but you have to stick to it, because otherwise one person feels bad, the other person doesn't.
Yeah, exactly. The worst thing that would have happened was my ego kick in and think, well, I need to surprise him with something. That would have been the worst thing, because it would have made Jay feel bad, and he loves me and I love him. And the decision we made a long time ago was for our birthdays, let's travel, let's see somewhere different. And then for Christmas, we made the decision this year, since we knew, first of all, we were going to have sub-zero temperatures, and both of us have arthritis and blah, blah, blah. Plus, we wanted to have water and fun and sun. Let's spend Christmas somewhere different. Let's do it economically, something we would spend on gifts for each other. We have everything we need. We both agreed we just wanted to make memories. We're at a time in our life where that's important. And so my sweetheart came up with the idea of Cancun.
And actually, I didn't necessarily come up with the idea of Cancun.
True.
We're going to talk about that later. But we just made a decision that we would rather travel than have trinkets. And we give each other those memories. Now, here's what's really cool about that is we're not limiting it to just Christmas. We do that for our birthdays as well. For our birthdays, we have agreed no gifts. We're traveling instead. That is our gift to each other. And we've made a commitment to each other to travel as often as possible. And when we do that, we do that to create the memory. And that means when we're out and we're in Cancun and we're looking, I happen to be wearing a Cancun shirt today.
Me too.
But we're looking at shirts and t-shirts and things like this. Yeah, you want to go get souvenirs. You want to get that little plaque for the wall. You want to buy the picture. You want to do... We don't do that. We make a commitment to buy one shirt while we're gone at a new location, new places.
Scuba diving is probably our most expensive expense.
And now we're talking about not even getting t-shirts like this, but in fact only investing in shirts in places that we scuba dive.
Yeah.
And we don't both need a shirt. We'll get one shirt for her one time, one shirt for me the next time, and it's perfectly fine.
Whatever makes it work, and that's part of the communication of how do we make this work without winning the lotto, without selling everything. How do we make this work?
And we'll talk more about that in just a little bit. But before we do that, let's get to tip number 3. Now,
this is a big one.
Now, tip number 3, you're watching us right now
on social media. But social media, you have to understand, is for you, not for attention, right? That's right.
Not for your audience.
That's right.
It's all about you. And I want to talk a little bit about that and what that means to us individually, because Lisa has a little different perspective on it than I do, but we understand each other's perspective. So tell everybody how you feel about what does social media for you, not for attention, mean to you?
So one of the things I love about social media is, if you know me, you know I love hearts. I'm a Pisces, I'm a lover, not a fighter. I am all about the positive message, and so anytime either one of us see anything with hearts, I share it. So my thinking is, when I share my hearts, I'm sharing love. I'm sharing positive affirmations. I'm one of those ridiculous people that I do my positive affirmations for myself every morning. And so when I share those, I'm sharing love and peace and sharks and hearts, as we all know.
Yeah, peace, love, hearts and sharks.
That's my life, right? And my precious Jay. So that's what I think of as social media. But I will tell you, I never look back and think, oh gosh, I wish somebody would have liked it, or I wish I would have put something on for someone else. I never think past that point. I want to share my love. I want to share my love of people. I want to share my love of positive affirmation. That's truly the only thing I think of. I never think about the return of it. I'm lucky enough that I have the return of love at home, so I don't have to do that on social media.
And what I look at this is I look at social media for you, not for the attention or not for your audience. Meaning, so we post on TikTok and on Instagram and on YouTube. And when we do, like, we may have like one video hits 800,000 views. And when it hits 800,000 views, the logical, the algorithm, the all the gurus out there tell you need to repost your most popular video all the time, like every couple of weeks. Repost it. It'll boost your views, and we do none of that.
We're so grateful. We love you all.
We also don't even look at like, what did we do different on that one that gave us 800,000 views versus one that gave us 20 views?
You just get us.
We just get us, right? So one of the things we do with that is we post it for our experience. Now, we love sharing things with you about what we're doing, and hopefully, we're inspiring some of you to like start taking that moment, jump, and go, we're going to travel a little bit more. We're going to do a little bit different adventure. We're going to take an adventure on our own, whether it's going to get ice cream on a random rainy Saturday.
Exactly.
But
dancing in the rain.
Just enjoying yourself, and hopefully we inspire that. But we don't do it for the algorithm, for the likes, for the hearts, for the commentary. We do it because we want to and we enjoy it. Now, that leads to the second part of this for me.
Yeah.
For me, when we post social media posts, we post this because we live this every day. We're going to talk more about that in a minute, but we go back and watch the videos that we posted in the past.
It's the greatest.
And if you're on, I'm sure Google, we use Google, but if you're on Apple or you're on Microsoft or whatever you're doing, these memories pop up of all the pictures you take. We absolutely love that. That's
it's
like
the greatest.
The greatest feeling when I wake up in the morning and it says, revisit your time with Lisa, revisit last Tuesday, revisit a Wednesday. And I love that because it's all our adventures and dreams that we share. And then what we do is we go through those. We just did our 2022 recap. Went through thousands of pictures and narrowed it down to 100 pictures, and then took those 100 pictures and narrowed it down to 20 pictures so that we could recap 2022. And if you're watching us, you can see that recap on our channel right now.
Yeah, right now.
But the cool part
by one too, because we still need two, because 20 was way too few pictures.
2022 was just a tremendous adventure for us. We traveled a lot and we did a lot of amazing, incredible things. But we did that, but it wasn't just posting a video for us. It was hours of looking back at our old pictures and laughing and giggling
our butts off,
and remembering it. And it wasn't just selfies and pictures of us. It was a picture of a road,
a church,
cathedral,
an arrow.
When we did the Camino de Santiago in Portugal and Spain, there's pictures of shells and arrows that point the way. All roads lead to Santiago, and we would just take a picture of that arrow, and it would be spray painted on the ground.
And you guys know what Graceland means to me. That was incredible. That was an incredible experience.
Yeah. So just the random things like that. But we relive them, and we're going to talk more about that a little bit later. So when it comes to social media, just knowing that you're doing social media for you is the most important thing. Forget everybody else. Hey, by the way, if you get 1,000 likes or 800,000 views or whatever, yippee! But if you don't, yippee! Who cares?
It's still
right?
you. It's still you,
and you can
you
go
should
back,
be celebrated.
You can go back and look at that anytime you want. So. Another one, and this is a really good one. This one Lisa really wanted to put in here.
This is big, guys.
Tip number 4 is live your life without fear of what others think. Now,
welcome to the story of my life before I met this sweet, beautiful man.
Well, I've always lived my life in a way that I love to be inclusive and have other people be joining in or appreciative of. But I learned a long time ago that most people think I'm crazy, and they don't understand what it is I'm doing. And rather than sit around trying to explain it all the time, I just go do. I've had people tell me that, oh, you can't just pack up and travel for 9 months out of the year. Instead of saying, yeah, I really like the idea of doing that. I want to do that. I'm not there yet, but I want to do that. Instead, I just did it. And here I am with the love of my life, traveling actually 10 months this year.
Right.
So we really stop explaining ourselves to other people and looking for their approval or their permission we just go live our lives. And it is amazing to me how much freer we are. And now this lovely lady here, she has a different story about this. So
completely different. When I met this beautiful man in 2006, I was with my cousin on a cruise, as most of you know, and both of us were so fascinated by him. I was fascinated because all of these sparks and crazy things happened in my soul. But other than that, we'll focus on right now, was that he loved to travel. And it was something that we talked about a lot. And you could not help but just sit and listen in awe. It was something, I'm a Texas girl. I lived in Texas my whole life, 52 years before I moved to Tennessee. And travel I did, but it was by car and it was by myself. And sometimes I was lucky enough to have Amy with me, my cousin, and sometimes I was lucky enough to have my mother, but most of the time it was either me or my dog. And I had become accustomed to that because I worried about what other people thought. When I mentioned that I wanted to go do something, the whole crowd, you could hear them take a breath. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, if they don't think it's right, well, then it can't be right. And then on top of that, I thought, well, I can't fly because no one in my family has flown. So, well, it must mean I'm going to die. So I can't. All of this fear, guys, overtook my body, and therefore I did nothing. It's important for you to hear that word, nothing. From 52 to 0, I had done nothing. I had taken cruises. I'd gone on a few drives by myself across country. But let me tell you, when you take a picture of the Garden of the Gods or Pikes Peak and you come home to Texas and you show people pictures, they're simply going to see rocks. They're not going to see what you saw. And meeting Jay was not only what God had meant for me to do, he's my soulmate, but it also changed my life with an in-depth conversation that we had.
And it's fun to think that your ability to travel. This young lady here was 52 years old before she took her first flight.
That's right.
And
I had many intentions, by the way. I'd gotten on planes and gotten my happy butt right off because of the fact of fear. Think about what fear is as well. And this was something you taught me.
Yeah.
Fear is something you've never experienced before. So think about that. If you fear something, because I feared horribly of flying because it was the unknown. What Jay taught me was, how can I be fearful of something I've never done?
Never experienced, yeah.
Please think about that because it was life-changing for me.
And over time, you think to yourself, is it important?
Yeah.
And if it is important to you, then you have to have a conversation with the love of your life to talk about that.
That's right.
Before we get into the relationship details, though, let's talk about travel. We just dropped a big bomb and talked about traveling in those 10 months this year. Let's talk about what that means. Tip number 5 is budget adventures does not mean cheap adventures.
No.
And it's very important to understand that. So when you plan your travel correctly, it is actually, in our case, in this particular case, it's less expensive for us to spend a month in Cancun than it is to stay home.
That's right.
So let's just be really clear about that. It's cheaper for us to be out of the country in a warm climate than it would be to be home.
Do most people even think about or write down or chart what they spend for Christmas? Have you actually spent
Only
the
when
time?
the credit card bills come
That's
in.
true. That is true. Have you actually thought about what you spent for Christmas last year? Gas money, wrapping paper, invitations, cards, gifts, the time,
food, parties, yeah.
Right, exactly.
So,
how much do you spend? It would blow your mind.
So and so something interesting to think about that though is like, and we'll talk a little about how we did what we did there. So we're in Cancun for a month. And currently we are sitting on the dock, beautiful water behind us. Port of Cancun, beautiful catamaran over there, big buildings. We're not staying here. What we did, and we used tools, by the way, to help us find budget adventures, not cheap, but budget. And we spent many months looking at this. I watched flights all the time. So when we first talked about Christmas and not getting gifts for each other, the question was, where do you want to go? And we don't say, oh, we want to go to Cancun,
No
or we
clue.
want to go to Mexico.
No clue.
What we say is, we want warm, we want water, and we want to be able to scuba dive.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3
It's that
qualifications.
simple. Yeah, it's that simple.
So I use a tool called Google Flights, or flights.google.com. And instead of going in and saying, I want to go from Memphis or Nashville or Houston or wherever to a destination, what I do is I go over to the Explore section, and in the Explore section, I just put in the airport I want to leave from, and I put for 2 weeks, 2 months, whatever, and I just put in like August or just December. And what that does is it tells me then, a map pops up and shows you the cheapest flights from that airport to all of the destinations. You're going, all of them, like anything. And you just scroll around the earth and you look. Well, it just so happened we wanted something south. So we were looking at South America, Central America, which could have been, Cartagena, could have been Nicaragua, could have been Portugal, Panama, it could have been Costa Rica, could have been Mexico. And we looked, and there was this deal, this round trip airfare for like $182. Well, that's cheap, right? So we thought, okay, we know the airfare now. We can go for a month for about $400 round trip for both of us, including all of our bags and everything else. Now, let's look at where we can stay.
Make that part of your adventure, by the way.
So we knew that we could come here to Cancun, but Cancun has a lot of opportunity. You can be in Cancun proper. You could go to Cozumel, just a ferry ride away. You could go to Isla Major. You could go down to Playa del Carmen, the River Maya. You could go to Tulum. So there's lots of places to look. So then we get on Airbnb. And on Airbnb, we just type in the general area. And again, a map pops up, and you can just scroll that map. We know we wanted to be close to the water, but on the water was not required. Now, we're going to tell you a little bit more about that in a second. But scrolling down the map, we found some really neat places in like Lakeside.
Yeah.
We found really nice places waterside.
Yeah.
And then we found this nice little village. We found it's at about 5 kilometers from the water. So if we stay on the water, it's about $1,000 a week for a hotel. If we stay just 5 kilometers away from the water, we're paying $603 for the entire month. We have a nice little apartment, bedroom, a separate kitchen, dining area, small kitchen, a nice bathroom. We have a private outdoor patio, little outdoor yard. This time we traveled with our pup, so he's with us and he gets to stay there while we go out and adventure, go scuba diving. Can't do that in a hotel.
That's true.
And all of this for $603. Now the best part about it is it's $1.50, roughly 20 pesos.
Yeah.
$1.50 round trip for us to get on a bus that literally stops right in front of our house and goes straight to the beach.
It's the greatest.
And if we wanted to take a cab, it's like $5. Okay, so it's actually, today was less than that. It was like $3.50.
Yeah.
So you can travel to the water every single day and add an extra $50 to your total, and so your stay is $650. But you're coming to the beach every day. But here's the best part: restaurants here beachside, it's expensive to eat. But if our little village, we just 2 days ago, we got 4 enchiladas, 6 tostadas, and 2 drinks, carne, meat, enchiladas, and tostadas, for it was about $7.50, less than $10.
Yeah. And delicious.
And delicious. Then I went next door and bought a pound of prepared carne asada, and then went 2 doors down and they hand-pressed and rolled corn tortillas for us. That cost us 20 cents.
We had to wait for them to
We had to wait them to make them.
Yeah, to make them.
And now we have all of this. We got 3 days worth of food, and it cost us $6.50. So again, the benefit of being 5 kilometers away, we get to know them. We know that our local restaurant is Matate.
Yeah.
And
the owner,
Carla is the owner. She's super sweet. She looks forward to us coming every day. We always stop, even if we don't eat, we stop by, we say good morning. Yeah. It's a treasure.
You learn the culture, you learn the people, and we've learned the language. Which is, Paquito.
A little bit there.
It has been so beautiful. The owners of the Airbnb, they come and visit. We are so blessed to have this outdoor area where yours truly can sit out in the sun. It's just beautiful.
We have a rooftop deck to sit out on.
It's amazing.
So when we look at this entire adventure, including airfare, including our hotel or Airbnb stay, including our travel back and forth to the beaches, including scuba, and scuba's kind of expensive.
It's our most expensive.
$300 an outing.
Yeah, it's our most
We're still going to spend less than $1,500 for this entire month. And if you just consider that's the price of one house payment, that's insane, right?
And what would you have spent for Christmas? And we're talking not even Christmas, but the whole month. December 12th to January 12th.
Yeah, and if you think about your house payments and all your electric bills, your gas bills, your heating bills, your heating prices, your fuel for your car, all of the things that you would do normally, and even if you eat at home every single day, you're still going to have a significantly more expense than it is for us to be here. Now you might say, okay, but I have all those expenses back home, house payments, insurance, things like this. Well, what we did and how we afford that, we'll talk more about later in a later tip. But the bottom line is, if you budget your adventures and you don't look for the cheapest, but you look out further, you explore new places.
Learn the culture. Meet the people.
It's incredible. When we traveled across Portugal and Spain, we declared that we were going to stay in a really nice hotel once a week. The rest of the week, we literally stayed in a thing called albergue, or a hostel. Yeah. Those hostels cost us like 10 euros, 12 euros a night. It was great. Clean beds, showers, bathrooms. Some of them even had breakfast. Some of them had like a little continental breakfast for 10 euros. Like, it was brilliant.
Do a little research and have so much more fun and such an enlightening experience.
So much more fun. Yeah.
So much more fun.
We're going to go back here in a couple of months, and this time we rented a motorhome. And the reason it kind of came up to rent the motorhome wasn't planned.
Yeah, not at all.
We were planning on just getting a Eurorail pass, and we were going to take the Eurorail and just spend 2 months traveling on the Eurorail, taking us wherever it would go, everywhere it would go. And that came out to be about $1,200 for a 45-day Eurorail pass each. Yeah. So we're close to $2,500 to $3,000. Plus, we're on a Eurorail, so we still have to factor in hotels or albergues. And on the Eurorail, you're not always going to find an albergue close by. Sure. So we figured that we tried to calculate like the cost of the hotels and the cost of the other stuff. And random thought came to mind, how much would it be for a motorhome? We have a motorhome with more than enough kilometers available on because you pay for excess kilometers over there. A motorhome, beautiful, brand new motorhome we're renting for about $3,000, I think is what we estimated. Total, including the fuel costs, running all over. Now we're going to be able to go from Spain into France, into Italy, into Switzerland, and we're going to be able to drive all over that and then come back to Spain and drive all over Spain, and we're going to do that over 30 days. What a blessing that is. Again, it's not cheap, but it's definitely budgeted so that we know what our expenses are when we get there and we don't overspend.
We're not in hotels every night.
Plus, we're in a motorhome.
We're not eating in restaurants every night.
We have eating facilities. We have a microwave and a stove and things like that, so we can cook
sandwiches
on the road.
Galore, because we have places to go. And we'll talk a little bit more about how we do these things and what the plan is in just a second.
Yeah, so So
we have more tips.
Let's talk about the next tip. Tip number 6.
Big one.
This is a big one, and this we alluded to earlier. When we go back and we look at all of our pictures on our memories and our videos and our social media, what we're doing is literally recommitting our love for each other and our love for adventure every single day. So tip number 6 is recommit your love daily. Don't take for granted, even if you're separate all day long at work and things like that, text the random I love you.
Yeah. Text
the random
I'm thinking
happy hearts. I'm thinking about you. Text the random I miss you. And it changes things and
goes a long way.
The key to that is don't preface it for something else. Don't go, hey, I'm thinking about you. Oh, by the way, what do you want for dinner tonight?
Yeah.
Don't do that.
No.
Just, hey, babe, I'm thinking about you. I love you. I miss you. And that reaffirms to your spouse just how much you mean to them.
Well, and something I talked about earlier was daily affirmation. Yeah.
How much they mean.
How much they
mean.
mean. And what I talked about earlier was daily affirmations. This is something that I picked up years ago that's really very important. And I will tell you, it's hard to look yourself in the mirror and tell yourself how great you are or that you did a good job. But the best thing you can do is look yourself in the mirror and say, what am I going to do today to be a better mate to my sweetheart?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And it's something that we truly focus on.
I have this belief that in a relationship, if you focus solely 100% on that other person's smile, and they're focusing 100% on your smile, then you've got a winning combination. And that's what we have. And that's why we've been so happy. We have literally not been able to separate each other for more than, we went 24 hours and it broke us.
It was bad. It was bad. It was not good. I cried. I'm just going to be honest.
But we have this great relationship because we focus on each other's happiness. And I know that I never have to actually think about my own happiness because I know she is.
I got you.
It's not selfish at all. It's that we've got each other. When I say I got you, I got you. So let's bring us the next tip. This is tip number 7.
Last one, guys.
And this is the last one. This is probably the most important. That keeps everything just so popping all the
Something
time.
you taught me, and when he first did this, I'll tell you, I thought, oh my God, am I going to be exhausted from this? Actually, what I realized was that it continues the journey. So go ahead, Jay. Tell them what it is.
I like to call it
just the tip.
Baafa. B-A-A-F-A-A. It means book an adventure from an adventure. So we're here right now in Cancun,
Mexico,
for the entire month and all through Christmas and the holidays. Now, we're already posting that as of today, 29 days from now,
29 days, what?
we jump on a cruise.
We jump on a cruise.
And we, as Lisa said, we met on a cruise. We love cruising. It's something that's passionate for both of us.
It's a big cruise, by the way.
Do you know that you can cruise for 4 or 5 days for literally $30 a day per person?
It's crazy.
It's insane. So we're not taking these $12,000 cruises. We're taking $300 cruises, $500 cruises.
A little bit of research.
$400.
It's just a little bit of research.
One of my favorite tools. Now, I do have a personal cruise planner at Carnival. I have cruised with Carnival so many times that I have this personal guy. I have his cell phone number. I can text. I literally was texting him.
You gladly share his information,
and I
by the way.
gladly share his information. He loves it because I do share his information.
He gives out his phone number all the time.
But literally, I was texting him, his name is Remy, by the way, Remy Hart. I was texting him 15 minutes before we started this video.
Yeah.
So, and it's a Sunday on New Year's Day, but we're just wishing each other well. So, I'll do this. I'll go on Carnival, and I will just search for the cheapest cruise. And here's what I find is fascinating. So, again, we live in Tennessee. So, what does that mean? That means I'm not right near a port. I am not near a port. But I know that I can drive to Houston, Texas, to Galveston in 11 hours. I can drive to New Orleans in about 10.
And we've done that.
I can drive to Jacksonville, Florida in about 9. I can drive to Tampa in about 13 hours. So those are all ports that I can travel to very easily, quickly, okay? Miami is great, Miami, Orlando, because you can find cheap flights there like all the time. So I just go and sort by cheapest cruise, and then I look for the best value and the best time. We currently have, because when we're on a trip, we're always looking forward to the next trip.
Always looking forward.
We currently have 5 cruises booked this year. We're going to be cruising over 38 days. And that's because we again, one of our hobbies is dreaming together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we look at cruises, we look at flights,
What's
we
the
look
next
at
adventure?
different places around the world that we'd like to check out. And we watch, then once we look at it and go, that's really cool, let's check that out. Then we watch the prices of that cruise or that location or that airfare. And that has been such an amazing blessing. So we have 5 different cruises booked, but we're already posting about the next one, and we're not even planning for the one after that yet. I mean,
well, the next one is the big one.
This one coming up is going to be a really big one for us, and we'll be surprising you with
so
some
if you guys know us, you know what the big one is.
very fun stuff.
So I have a question.
Careful.
Sorry, guys.
Oh, she kicked
I have
it
a
over.
question. Have you ever had a conversation with your other half and actually asked them where they want to go? What is on your bucket list?
And
We've had that conversation.
That's a big thing. Let's go back a little bit about our adventure.
Yeah.
So this lady hadn't traveled on an airplane in her whole life.
52 years, yeah.
And I already knew that I wanted to travel at least 9 months out of the year. And
He told me that back in 2006. I thought he was insane.
And yeah, everybody did. So I just designed a life. It took 20 years, by the way. This is important.
Yeah, you weren't born
this
that way.
This is really, really important. Is that, again, we've already discussed. We're not rich. We're not wealthy.
No, didn't win the lotto.
But actually more than that now, 20 years ago plus, I decided that that's what I wanted to do. And everybody told me I was an idiot. You can't do that. You're crazy.
He tried to drag them along.
And I actually decided back then that the first thing I was going to do is commit to taking at least 2 cruises a year. Because they're cheap. You can get them for $200-300, and it's 4 days, and it didn't eat into work time and things like this. It was great. I actually met her on one of those cruises that I was cruising on every twice a year.
Because I thought the same way. I thought you had to work Monday through Friday, so I only had Saturday and Sunday I could actually get something done. And in 2006, Amy and I found a cruise in February where we could actually get on a Thursday at 4 o'clock, which meant that I could squeeze in as much work as possible before 4 o'clock, possibly 5 before the ship actually sailed, and then be back at my job on Monday. It was an insane way of thinking, but I met this beautiful person.
And what I did was took that 2 times a year and turned it into 4 times a year. And because that was the most affordable way to cruise. And then I lived only 2 hours from a port. So it was easy for me to do that. Over the course of the next 20 plus years, I just increased it slowly. Okay, I'm going to be gone for a month this time. I'm going to be gone for 6 weeks this time. I'm going to go away for 2 weeks here, 2 weeks there, and 2 weeks there. And I just modeled my life in such a way that I could do that. Now, back then, I worked when I traveled, so I learned how to work while I was on the road. Today, digital nomad life and work from home or work from anywhere opportunities are everywhere. Back then it wasn't so much. I just had to make my own life that way. So
create the life.
How this all came about was I'm talking to her and I'm thinking, okay, this is now 15 years after I'd met her. We actually hadn't seen each other in that entire time, but we met again the second time. And I said to her, I know you've never been on an airplane. This is important to me. Will you at least try? Now, if she'd have told me no deal, I would have had to have a conversation with her about what my goals were and what her goals were. And if she said, I don't want to get on an airplane, I would have thought of something different. For example, we're going to be taking a transatlantic cruise. We're literally getting on a boat in Florida, going to Spain, going to spend that 40 days in Spain, and then come back, get on another boat that sails us back to the United States. That entire trip is because I wanted to see what it was like to take a transatlantic flight or a transatlantic trip on a cruise. So I honestly would much rather be dancing and singing in the karaoke bar for 13 days than to be sitting on a flight for 14 hours. So it was just an example, just something to try. But if she'd have said no way, it may have meant that we didn't have a relationship, because that was important to me. But it was important to her as well to try. And the minute she tried it, she was,
I was in love. He even asked me stepping on the plane for the first time. He got me my first flight to Arizona, which was supposed to be a quick 2.5 hours that ended up with really bad weather, and we ended up having to stop in El Paso and refuel and the whole thing.
We ended up taking four flights instead of one that day, but it turned out to be a great experience for her.
It was a great experience. And one of the things, as soon as we stepped on the plane, I'd never walked down a gangway. I'd never looked for a seat. I'd never checked in on a flight. It was so life-changing. And then to see someone that you love and know that has my back. When I saw him and he looked up at me and Jay says, "Are you nervous?" It was so funny because I thought, I hadn't felt nerves in a long time, actually. Since we'd been together, I'd never known anxiety. I go scuba diving, which is something I've always wanted to do. We breathe under the water, a long way under the water. And I don't have time for fear, guys. I love this man. He loves me. And we discuss what our dreams are. And we do what it takes to make those dreams come true, regardless if it's going to Sonic or if it's going to Spain. It's having those conversations about what can I do to make your dreams come true, and that we can do this together. And if there's some type of compromise, then you compromise, but you have the conversation and you discuss your bucket list and dreams, which is our big conversation. Communication is the absolute key.
Absolutely. We dream together, we live together, we love together. That's part of what makes it work.
And we're not mind readers by any means. We would love to be, but we're not.
So to wrap this up, we've been talking about the 7 tips to absolutely just have an amazing, wonderful 2023.
Make 2023 the best.
I did allude to some of the tools that we use, so let's go over them real quick in a recap. My number one favorite tool to use for just seeing what's available in the world is Google Flights. It's free, everybody uses it.
It's the coolest thing ever.
Flights.google.com. Go to the Explore tab, though. You have to learn how to use it. Go to the Explore tab. It's a totally different interface. That's the first thing. The second thing I like to do is Airbnb for finding those really nice off the beaten path places. And you don't have to spend $3,000 a week on the water. You can spend $600 a month.
That's right.
Up in town a little bit.
That's right.
And another thing, this is a good one, Scott's Cheap Flights. Now, if you don't know where you want to go, you have no clue what you want to do, but you want to be alerted all the time to those accidental airfares or those special, really ridiculously low rates, I love Scott's Cheap Flights for this, and we booked most of our flights from Scott's Cheap Flights. Now, what Scott's does is they look for all these accidental airfares from your airport, and then they send you an email with a list of them every single day. They have international locations, they have domestic locations, they have every weekend you get what's the hottest cheap flight getaways for the weekends, so really quick booking, and other ones are long-term planned. You're booking now for your August vacation next year.
Speaking of that, I'm sitting outside with Bailey. Him and I are in the sun when I get a holler from this one the other day that says, do we want to spend my birthday in
Ecuador? Ecuador.
August of next year, guys. So this guy is always watching Scott's
So when
Cheap Flights.
Scott sends us a message, and I'm looking, I'm like,
where do we want to go?
We go to Ecuador. We go to Quito for like, $300 round trip. Let's go to Ecuador for my birthday.
Why not?
So this is like inspiration 101, and even if you don't do anything with it, they're all free tools. Now,
Yeah, just dream together, guys.
Yeah, Scott's does have a membership, which is great. I actually am a member because I do a lot of flights, but I was a free member of Scott's in the very beginning for like 3 or 4 years. I got my very first round trip flight to Spain using Scott's cheap flights. I paid $425 for a round trip flight on United with bags. So understand, it tells you when the good deals are, but here's the key. You got to act fast. That's the kind of thing that you might have to just go ahead and book that flight and book it now when you can, and then call your spouse and go, hey babe, guess what? We're going to fill in the blank for fill in the blank.
I like this year. I gotta. You want to go to Portugal for your birthday and walk the Camino? That sounds great.
Yeah, that was last year. It was like
the greatest.
It was a crazy deal.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, let's do that for your birthday.
It was unbelievable.
So we ended up. It's funny. We ended up walking 400 miles for her birthday, but it was beautiful.
It was beautiful,
and it was
met
an amazing trip.
Some of the best friends we will have forever.
Who are actually joining us on our
the big cruise.
And in
Can't
just
wait,
29
Miguel.
days. So we will be seeing you guys more and notifying after the cruise. We want to thank you so much for joining us right here at J&L Cafe.
We love you guys.
Our little coffee talk, letting you know what's going on.
God bless.
Love you so much. God bless you. And
Happy New Year.
Or Feliz Año Nuevo.
Woo!